Today is the 5th day of this June 1983 7-day retreat. And the Koan for today is from the Mumonkan. The book is Zenkei Shibayama's Comments on the Mumonkan. It is number 7, and the title is Joshu says, "Wash your bowls." The Koan reads, "Once a monk made a request of Joshu. I've just entered the monastery," he said. "Please give me instructions, Master." Joshu said, "Have you had your breakfast?" Another translation says, "Have you had your rice or your rice gruel?" "Yes, I have," replied the monk. "Then," said Joshu, "wash your bowls." The monk had an insight. Mumon's commentary says Joshu opened his mouth and showed his gallbladder and revealed his heart and liver. If this monk, hearing it, failed to grasp the truth, he would mistake a bell for a pot. And the poem by Mumon says, "Because it is so very clear, it takes so long to come to realization. If you at once know candlelight is fire," or another translation says, "Once you know that light is light, the meal has long been cooked." Once a monk made a request of Joshu. "Just entered this monastery. Please give me instructions." "Have you had your rice? Have you had your breakfast?" "Yes, I have." "Then wash your bowls." In a koan, just with anything one does or a relationship in which one listens and responds, can one enter into the people themselves. The koan often it's not very easy because very little is given. You're not there. You don't really see the monk, you don't see Joshu directly. But can you enter into this exchange, into this dialogue? Joshu at this time, he settled down when he was 80 to start a monastery. May again have been close to 100 or over 100. He's supposed to have lived 120 years. An old teacher, revered, famous. And a monk coming to him. Supposedly wasn't easy to reach the room of the teacher. Somehow or other he got there. Maybe he met him someplace else. Intercepted him. And says, "I've just entered here. Can you give me instruction? I want to learn. I want to learn from you." And the question that comes back is, have you had your breakfast? You assume from this, probably just around breakfast time, maybe a little bit later. And Joshu's concerned that the man has gotten his food. And the answer is, yes, I have. Then wash your bowl. Now if you think of that a little bit more, monks used to carry their bowls with them. That was one of the very few items they owned. It is still so supposedly today. So would he have eaten his breakfast and then just left the bowl in the sink for someone else to wash, as we do so very often? Or to wash later, piling up the dishes in the sink? It's very unlikely. And how does Joshu know whether he may have already washed his bowl? So the answer must lie on a different level altogether, as maybe does the question, have you eaten your rice? Rice, we're told, in the Far Eastern countries is more than carbohydrate with some minerals in it. It is the staple food, and, as I've heard and read, has also assumed a symbolic significance for the supreme nourishment. That's why we've been told brown rice is so often rejected, even though it is more healthy, because white rice, the whiteness, the purity of it has a symbolic significance. So have you eaten your rice? Does it mean, do you understand? Have you eaten your full? Are you fulfilled? These words are very ambiguous. But the real thing is not. Is there understanding? Or has there been an insight into the truth? Not a half insight into half the truth, but an insight, the insight being the truth. And this monk, just entering and no shyness to meet the teacher immediately, says, yes, I have. One has heard and read something about the system of starting with filial piety, the tremendous veneration of the older people, the wise, the elevated in office, this whole structure of Chinese society in terms of rank, and everyone understanding what goes with their rank and what goes with the next rank.
kind of freedom for this monk to say, yes, I have. We don't know how he said it, whether there was arrogance too, a certain feeling of self-satisfaction, maybe an image of the enlightened man. We don't know. But Joshu says, wash your bowl.
We've all washed bowls that have had rice in it. It's sticky. If it's been sitting for a while, it's more sticky. Just swirling a little bit of water around in the bowl does not empty out the remnants. It needs careful attention. Mostly with your fingers, the bare touch, where there's still something left, some residue, some stickiness. It's actually quite a beautiful thing. I once sat a sesshin in a monastery that was run by a Japanese master, and there the bowls are, as we all know, they're black lacquer, and unless the bowl is really clean, the shininess is dulled, is dim. So it's not just with a finger, you also see where there's still something left, and when everything is removed, then it's just like a mirror, this black lacquer bowl. Shiny, smooth. Reflecting clearly. If we widen the content of this koan out, not just to include a past experience of enlightenment or insight, awakening, understanding, whatever you want to call it, but memory as such. Let us talk a little bit more about that, because it does come up almost with everyone in a retreat. Maybe with everyone, not everyone brings it up, but so many people do bring it up that it may be worth talking about it. What do I do with the memories that come up in a retreat? They come up at other times, but here we're in a retreat. Different memories that come up. Memories of people one has loved or think one has loved, or think that these people have loved one and they're dead now, and a nostalgia for those people, very often of one's childhood. Memories of the childhood itself, the places one used to walk or go at times, and the memory sort of drenched with sunlight, if they were pleasant, with a certain beauty and lightness, airiness. and the mind is drawn to it. They're memories of people who have done one wrong, who have treated one harshly or rejected one, have not loved. Memories of one's rebellion against these people, one's hatred of them. And with these memories of people and events of earlier years or childhood go present feelings, feelings of regret or still unrequited anger, resentment, or an overwhelming nostalgia to bring it back, or a sadness at the impossibility of getting it back. Or just a drawnness to dwell in these memories. And to, if they were pleasant ones, to just dwell in the present feelings and emotions that are aroused by these memories. Or, we touched upon it in another talk, a real deep concern to somehow make up for what was left undone, for not giving the love that one thinks one ought to have given, should have given, just for not having been with a person maybe at the time of death, or also at the time of life, not having been with these people. Now a feeling of guilt, unrequited guilt. And then always the question popping up, what shall I do about all this? Unrequited guilt, unrequited hatred, resentment, feeling of having been betrayed or wronged, or not having given, not having loved or done one's due. The one who remembers and all the feelings aroused by these memories and all the reactions to those feelings that are aroused by the memories, the reactions to the memories and the memories themselves, all of that is the I, the me, which is a bundle of accumulated memories with all the habits, reactions, sentiments, emotions and feelings connected with these memories. Most of them, or maybe all of them, unfulfilled, uncompleted. Because it is the fact that an event of one's earlier life, earliest life or present life was not completed. It is this fact that has made it into a memory which nags, festers, consciously or unconsciously in the mind. Everything we experience is recorded in the mind, in the brain, and it leaves a trace or scar tissue a wound which may become scar tissue but always ready to fester again, break open. And determining or controlling our present-day actions and responses and perceptions, twisting them, distorting them. That is the process of the I, of the me. There's no need to accept this, but is there an urgency to test it, to find this out, to look into this for oneself, whether this is so? Most of our life, if we observe it very freely, openly, and honestly, is a process of self-protection. Self-enhancement, but always this protective element there, this defensive element. Needing to defend oneself, which is one's past experiences, memories, and the images that have come and are constantly being added to it. Why this is so? It can't or needs no explanation. It has to be observed in the process itself by each one, at the moment of protection and defense, which includes offense. Against the person who is invading or offending or hurting or threatening this I. This accumulation of memories, experiences, identities. For quite a while now they have developed systems of psychotherapy, one of the first having been psychoanalysis, trying through a process of freely associating one thought with another to get to the wound. And maybe by allowing this wound to be faced, to open up, to relive the scene in which it was created, to free the mind of wounds, and with that to free it of distorted perceptions, distorted behavior, distorted relationships. But there are problems with this. One problem being that there is, or seems to be, an infinite repertoire of past wounds, past incidents, which no matter how many are scooped up, there is always more. And then this whole process of touching it, of seeing it. What is it? Is there Is there real seeing without the eye, which is the accumulated images, experiences, memories? Or is that the very analyzer? The very one who is trying to look and trying to free? Is all that stuff? Whether one is doing self-analysis or entering a relationship with an analyst, is the analyst free from self? Or aware of self in the process of analyzing, so that the self does not distort? In the analyst's case, the self being the accumulated theories, training, education, case histories of other patients and patients studied. If this is what is looking, then it's not free looking. And it is already distorted. So it's distortion looking at distortion. And there can only be a freeing of wounds when the awareness is totally undistorted, untwisted, unbiased by the past experiences, memories, images, identities, and the present ones. There can be partial insights into partial incidents of the past, but there can never be complete insight unless there is no one analyzing, no past analyzing, freedom from the past. Then the past can come into awareness and what? Maybe the best way to put it, when there is this seeing without knowing, awareness without backup knowledge to interpret, to guide and to direct, none of that, just free seeing. Then what has come into awareness loses its controlling power, its twisting and distorting power. It loses its sting, and maybe dissolve altogether in this energy of awareness. And then, unsolicited, undemanded, and unexpected, there may be this love and compassion, not just toward single people in one's life, toward whom one wishes to direct it, but indiscriminately for everyone, everything. We are so bound up in the volume of our personal life, our personal relatives. But if you look at people around you, aren't they all your mothers and fathers, brothers, sisters, children? Not in any, I don't mean this in an inspirational sense or as a beautiful phrase, but as a fact. Aren't the agonies that beset your mother expressed in this woman and that woman and in yourself? And I'm not speaking about people populating one's environment with the father and the mother and the brother and sister one has known, which happens. We talked earlier about these incompleted memories because one never lived and saw and perceived and responded clearly at the time. Incomplete memories have been deposited in the brain, and the same relationship, the same incomplete relationship still drives one and is projected onto the people one lives with now. So the older men are the fathers or the uncles. The older women are the mothers, aunts or grandmothers. Those of equal age, a little bit younger or older, are the brothers and sisters. And the children often is oneself, as one remembers oneself as a child, not consciously necessarily. And one responds to people in those habitual patterns of either attraction or resentment, hatred or wanting to be loved, accepted, and fearing to be rejected, or with those of equal or almost equal age, an irrational feeling of rivalry and competitiveness, hatred or adoration, needing to win, fearing to lose, with people of all ages because it permeated one's own formative years, and then the habit patterns persisted and persist. And one does not see people as they are, not as we said that they are so much different from the mothers and fathers. And yet they are not that particular person who did this particular thing. And yet we often respond in that way, unawares, and therefore in conflict with people we relate to or would love to relate to and have such difficulty relating with. Because all these past things, habits, images are in between. As it often seems insurmountable obstacle. Until maybe the cement cracks and there are openings. And one becomes aware of conditioning. And how will this awareness work without immediately looking for new conditioning? We do that because conditioning is our protection, our security. And when it cracks and breaks and crumbles, we're inundated with feelings of uncertainty and fear. And that exactly is the medium in which to do this work, not to run for new cover, for new identity or protection, but to work in this with awareness. So this incredible shell is seen, felt, and breaks up or breaks down. So that there is a faint possibility for the functioning of love, really love, not the sentiment, the idea of it, the thought of it, the desire of it or for it. All of this is not love. Love is none of that. It's relationship without fear. Or the fear as it comes up, or the wanting is seen clearly, undistorted, unrationalized or justified. And the seeing is the freeing. Nothing else, nothing else. There's one sentence here in this poem, the third line: once you see that light is light, or that candlelight is fire, we could add the fourth line or another line saying, then you don't have to believe in it. It's there, as it is. Once you see anything as it is, that's it. As it is, undistorted. Sometimes people say, what should I do with what is said in a talk? Nothing. During a talk, can one listen and look? And during sitting, walking, standing, lying down, running, bathing, eating, what is it? Or what? Or who? Or just no? Attending without knowing. We will end here for today.